Well, thank you all for joining me for today. I appreciate you taking the time and congrats on the film and having it
Thank
at
you.
South by. That's super awesome. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And so I'd like to start with Michael. I'd love to know when you're writing a film like this, especially when you're doing sci-fi and time travel, first of all, where did the idea come from, but also how you come up with something that, challenges the kind of tropes of the genre a little bit or
Yeah,
so.
yeah, absolutely. It comes from watching a lot of science fiction with my dad growing up, who is a big, film book loving nerd. He just basically loves everything science fiction and horror and thriller. And so watching a lot of time travel movies with him, a lot of what we do is watch those movies and then talk about them for hours afterwards with coffee, and usually just go into the theories and the time travel rules and how they work and what happened off screen and whatnot. So when, writing this movie, he actually kind of helped me jumpstart with a lot of ideas based off what he was reading and what we were watching. And it helped kind of navigate a lot of the tropes. Like, one of my big mantras when writing science fiction or working in anything like that in film is that I try to do things that I've never seen before. And that comes from watching and ingesting a lot of the science fiction movies and reading a lot of books about them. And then that's kind of how we came up with this movie, was just going out to this farm in the Midwest and using the things that we've never seen before to make something like really unique and fun.
Yeah, and I love the fact that it is a brother and a sister. They're on the run. I mean, it's a very interesting setup. I'm wondering, Adam and Riley, when you first read the script, were you guessing yourself as to what was going on? Were you incredibly like intrigued? Did you have your own kind of hypothesis as to the explanation?
Oh yeah. I think like when I was first reading it, I just had no idea how they were gonna get out of this. So that's what kept me flipping through it. And I think the way that it ends was not what I was expecting at all. So that I think that that's always the like a good sign of an intriguing story, especially a sci-fi story. I just had no clue how they were gonna get out of it.
Yeah, and I'm not a very good script reader. They're very disjointed, and there's lots of interior and exteriors and time jumps and all that stuff. But I found myself really like plowing through this one, and it was a page turner in the way of like a really great novel is, where I was just like, okay, but what's going to happen? What happens next? And I have to figure out what this thing means, and like how I got to get to that point in the story. And I don't think I've ever finished a script and then wanted to start at the beginning again. And I knew from that moment, I was like, yeah, this really has something in it.
I need to do this movie.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
If
I
only,
need
if only it was that easy to be like, oh, well, I love this. I need to do
yeah, I'm
this.
just gonna do it.
So
I
I'm
mean,
just
that's
gonna,
not how it works. No.
I'll do this
You
movie,
know,
please.
yeah.
there are people that does work that way. But
Just not us, not yet.
Not yet.
no. Mm-mm. So I was more thinking like, how do I make this Michael Felker really like me?
It was really easy. I mean, not to jump ahead on any questions you might have, but they were always the top two choices. It was a no-brainer as soon as I saw them read the first pages. It was easy. So I'm glad they said yes, I guess is the other way to go about it.
Hey, likewise.
We would follow you into the dark, Michael Felker.
Yep, we did.
We
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Into the ice.
I would say that this is what this is falling into the dark. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this kind of goes for everybody, but I'm just wondering, was there any collaborative process on building your characters and the relationship of your characters with Michael and each other as
Yeah,
far as what was on the script and then yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was one of the, I mean, we started, once we, locked in the roles and everything, we just started by doing Zoom talks like this for sometimes hours on end, just talking about the characters. Cause, there is what's on the page, but then there's a whole life and world that's beyond the page, beyond the movie. And that came from a lot of in-depth conversations and bringing some of our own backgrounds into our storytelling instincts and our performances here. So it was a lot of just, shooting the shit, getting comfortable, feeling great about the camaraderie and everything. And that's where Adam and Riley really brought a lot to the roles that I didn't even envision.
Yeah, the Zooms were super important I'm a big proponent of really kind of hashing through it all, especially with something like this, where you really need to get the full picture of what's going on and, you know, what's in the director's head, and in this case, the director and the writer, that we never sat down and rehearsed a scene. I mean, there was, when we finally got into space in Indiana, we would read through it, but we never really like fully rehearsed the scene, which for
Yeah.
me, all the background work that, you know, Riley and I did with Michael, but also you know, Riley and I were having our own side chats for months, you know, texting and calling and Zooming and FaceTiming and really working on our past and our relationship. And in the world building of it all, we had Michael to build the world for us, and Riley and I built the relationship so that when it was action, I think that it was easy to let go and to, you know, just let yourself and the character just kind of fall into each other in a way, you know?
Yeah, and I also think, like, you know, there's, when we're telling a story that has to do with a brother and sister who have so much history and so much deep history together, tumultuous history that, you know, can be triggering or you know, traumatic. I think it's really important to be able to speak with your collaborators, and, you know, sometimes it's not like that luxury is not really given.
Mhm.
You know, you'll have chats with the director, but not every co-star of yours is gonna be available to chat in depth about history and stuff like that. So I feel like I really feel very lucky that Adam and I were also able to hop on and really give each other time and space to work that out. I think it was really special.
And one of my biggest pet peeves is to watch a show or a movie and the brother and sister, like you can tell the relationship is only like skin deep. They haven't really gone into like the fibers of their soul. And
Yeah.
it's like, hey, sis, you know, you remember I always call you sis. And like, you know,
Yeah.
it just feels so unnatural. And I, you know, for Riley and I to be on the same page, because we mention a lot of things about Joe and Sid's past. If we had different reactions to it, or different, you know, obviously our reactions are going to be different, but the history needs to remain the matching for us. And I think that that was like super important,
Yeah.
especially because the whole movie rests on that relationship. If you don't believe that relationship and um you don't feel empathy for them and each other, then it falls apart. The whole thing is about these two doing this together. You know what I mean?
It's such a
Yeah.
good point. There's so many times where I'll watch something, even not even a sibling relationship, but even romantic relationships, and when they like come up to each other and put a hand on the shoulder, and I'm like, they have never touched each other in their lives.
Mhm.
You know,
It happens all too often.
yeah, and there is that like tangible relationship that human
Mhm.
beings have that is unspoken, that
Mhm.
gives away history. Yeah. So
Yeah. I think the unspoken thing was the biggest thing for us because, you know, as a younger brother to an older sister, there's just things that only the two of me and my sister would know
yeah.
beyond us. And I think it was even important to give Adam and Riley that space to explore that themselves, even from me. And because that way, when they came to the set, they really did have a personal bond that shows in the performances that I can never even direct, no matter how much I got in there, because you know, there's something unspoken and beautiful between a brother and sister that's only them.
Yeah, they should have secrets.
And it's probably like slightly obnoxious as well. I'm pretty sure that we were pretty obnoxious, but I think that was good for our relationship.
It was so
Yeah,
great. I loved
honestly, Riley, you certainly were.
Get out of here.
it.
Are you sure you're not playing brother and sister anymore?
Dude, it's like this all the time. I
I'm
wish that somebody
Unfortunately.
would have filmed us during South by Southwest, like me trying to figure out like what am I supposed to wear for this thing? And Riley's like, "Are you kidding me, dude?" Like it was just constant. Yeah,
Did anyone ask if you actually were siblings?
a lot of people do, and honestly,
Yeah.
we're not sure. I feel
Yeah.
like we should do a DNA test at this
Yeah.
point.
he looks so much like my actual brother that it really is bizarre.
Yeah, it's a good shout out to also our casting director Chrissy
Right.
for finding the correct pair. You know, there's so many
Yeah.
different ways this could have gone down, but we knew like from the get-go that they not only were the right Joe and Sid, but they were the right brother and sister combo for sure. So that was we were very lucky in that process.
Yeah, and so can you talk a little bit about the inspiration to make it that familial drama as well, to make it like siblings at the forefront?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't see my sister often enough. You know, she lives in a different part of the country. She works in a different industry. She has kids she's raising, and I just don't get a chance to see her enough. And one of the things that we try to do is, connect when we can through little texts. But one of the biggest plot points in the movie involves them, Joe and Sid having a matching tattoo that they can constantly go back as their anchor to each other. And so that's inspired by me and my sister having this exact same tattoo on our arms. I have a Triforce tattoo on my right arm. She also has a Triforce tattoo on her right arm. And anytime we have a bad day, we just don't even ask or go into the details. We don't try to fix each other. We just text each other a picture of our tattoos and say, "Love you, sis." And then she texts back going, "Love you, bro." And that's it. And I think, I wanted to do a movie exploring like a brother and sister relationship, especially since you don't see a lot of movies explore brother and sister dynamics. It's usually when you have a male and female co-stars, it's usually romantic or it's even parental, but never brother and sister. And I feel like there should be a little bit more exploration about like how no matter how like what you do and what actions you guys take, you guys are still family no matter what, and you guys will know each other to each other's core beyond anyone else.
And to also tell stories. I mean, I've mentioned this before, but like tell stories about adult siblings. Because I feel like so often it's like if you are watching something that has to do with siblings, it's about children. And it was like very refreshing, I think, to read a script that was just about like two completely separate but also connected adult individuals.
Yeah. You just don't see that too often. You're right. And like I feel like it's just it unearths something that people can watch and then look to their sibling or even someone they would call like a brother or sister and go like, oh, I could see a little bit of myself in that. And
Yeah.
glad we're just one of those movies that can explore that relationship.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You guys have a great rapport. Like,
Thank
all
you.
very good.
We made a
Yeah.
movie and we learned a lot about each other in
Yeah.
all the best ways.
Yeah, we're stuck with each other, unfortunately.
But also, I feel like going back to the sibling thing, you're no matter how distant you are from your sibling, and if the history is there's a sordid history, and you're angry with each other, the tether between you two is always there, no matter what. And there's nobody in the world that shares a history
Yeah.
like your sibling. There are things that my brother and I, it's unspoken, we share it, and this is going to get really cheesy, but after making this and having this shared history with the two of them and with, the rest of the crew, but especially, Riley and Michael, I feel like we have this tether now between us. And I don't know, I've never really experienced that before. And I think it goes back to that familial bond, of the siblings that it goes so much deeper into a relationship than say a romantic relationship. And having that and having these two as like my family now, it really does like I feel a tether between all of us, and that, we already like won walking off set. We're like, hey, we made this thing awesome, but also like we made this thing between us, and that to me was like, that was the real, icing on the cake.
Aw.
The movie was a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. The movie was just shot so we could get to know each other. That's
Right.
it.
The entire purpose.
The long con
Yeah,
has succeeded.
exactly.
I got to know all of you.
We just wanted friends.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I won't take up much more of your time. I'll just ask, how did the premiere go at South by? How was that?
Went
Awesome.
really well. It went great. I mean, we had, I think all of our screenings sold out. We had a lot of great responses. You know, people, you know, were asking questions about the lore and digging into it, but also people were just like, hey, like, I got people asking, like, or people just saying, hey, I really appreciated you telling a story about a brother and sister. I got a lot of people saying that they really bought into, you know, what we were, you know, digging through emotionally. And that meant the world to me because that means, you know, I'm a big collaborator when it comes as being a director. I like everyone to bring as much as they can so they can feel like the movie is theirs as well. And I think it showed because people felt really proud. We all the crew like came out and we, you know, we stood up there underneath the screen and we're
Yeah.
just like, yeah, this is cool. So I felt really proud that we could all share in a really cool movie that we all made.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like that's unheard of for like all of the crew to come out for a premiere or festival. Like our line of Q&A people up there were, it was like 20 of us, 20 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really special.
That's awesome.
And it was just as much their film as it was ours. And that's how
Not more.
everybody on set was like, just, they treated it like it was their own film that they were making themselves. And that was like, you know, you want to be able to like just let go and, like I said earlier, just fall into each other, and in a scene just to know that you have that safety net underneath you, that you can just let go and just be a part of the scene and just be Joe and Sid. And with a crew that's, you know, either texting or, you know, kind of off doing their own thing, everybody was so focused in. And I think that really like helped us hone this thing into what it was. And having them there for the premiere it only felt right for those people to be standing up there with us, because each one of them had an integral part to play, because we had a very small crew.
And it also was not an easy shoot, like
No.
with the elements that were at play.
Yep. I tested positive for COVID on day one and had to quarantine. That was a real bummer.
It was the most peaceful day.
Yeah, whatever. It was all just you shooting inserts without me. But and the other thing that like the premiere that I really adored was that the people who came up, you know, a lot of times people watch a movie and they'll, you know, be forced to sit there and watch me do whatever I'm doing on screen. And a lot of times I play bad guys or, you know, people who just are unlikable. I don't know why. Don't say anything, Riley. But this one, you know, I feel like it was Riley and I were able to like be very bare in emotionally, and they, you know, the film is so kind of shot up close that like you have that emotional intimacy with the audience. And so I had people coming up to me and really feeling comfortable and talking to me about the movie and things like that. And whereas a lot of times they're scared of me after the movie and they're running away. So that was a really nice thing to be able to have those conversations with people, hear about other people's siblings and their relationships. And, you know, and that was really awesome to just kind of have that, you know, we made this film as a community, and now like each time we show it, I feel like the community just grows and we continue to build upon that. And that's just been such another added bonus that I did not foresee happening.
Well, it sounds like you guys had a lovely time making the movie, and I think the cohesion is really obvious, and you can tell in the film. So congratulations again, and thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for talking to me today.
Of course.
Thank
Thank
you so
you,
much, Christy. I
Christy.
appreciate it.